Little Wing members, welcome back. This month, July, we're cooking porcini risotto. Okay, quick shout out, a massive thank you to everyone that's jumped onto social media and has posted about their Little Wing meal box and shared it with their friends. And for those people that are interested in finding out, jump onto our website. You can find our online shop. Any previous boxes that we've cooked are available there for purchase. But a massive thank you so much for following. Thank you for shouting about it online. And to those that have left a Google 5-star review, we're at 100% so far. Thank you so much. Jump on there and give us a like. That's the best way that you can support us. So nothing says winter to me like mushroom risotto. And in Italian cooking, this is really at the core. We're talking porcini mushrooms, we're talking lashings of Parmesan cheese, extra virgin olive oil, seasoned beautifully, lots of herbs, some crunchy nuts to finish. So let's get started. We'll review what's in the box and then we'll run through the process. This one, guys, is going to be a little more intricate to the others, but I promise you it'll be worth it. Okay, here we go. This is your ingredients in this month's meal box. What we're looking at is 1 kilo of rice. What makes this super special is what we use in the restaurant. We're talking about Violoni nano rice. You probably haven't seen this before for risottos. You've probably always been taught that arborio rice is risotto rice. However, these are both short grain rices that are delicious for risottos. The difference here that you're going to find with this product is that it's a much harder grain of rice, so it's going to withstand cooking. It's going to be very difficult to overcook, which I think is fantastic. There's a lot of applications in the commercial kitchen for this, but also for the home chef. Also, the ability to make this risotto super creamy, super rich without trying to cheat by using absolute bucket loads of butter and absolute bucket loads of cheese like they would in some lesser case restaurants. This rice here has such a high starch content that by agitating that rice in the cooking process, you're going to release a lot of those starches. It's going to become super creamy. You're going to get a fantastic crunch on the rice, just al dente, but the creaminess of those starches plus a little bit of butter, plus a little bit of Parmesan cheese, we're going to have a beautiful creamy risotto. This for me is the absolute hero, porcini mushrooms. Now, if you haven't cooked with porcini before, you're in for an absolute treat. For those that have, welcome back, because this is real flavor country here. This is going to substitute fresh mushrooms in this risotto for us. I'll teach you how to use these. I'm really excited to share these with you. For me, this is a classic winter dish. Now, in our test tubes this month, we've got dried sage. Now, this is going to add a very, very classic flavor combination. The mushrooms, the rice, the cheese, and the sage. And then what we've got here is some chopped walnuts. So these are raw walnuts. These are not toasted. The reason being is that while they still provide a beautiful crunch, you're also going to get that delicious creamy texture of the walnut and the fats of that nut as well. So guys, please, nut allergy here, please take caution. If there's any nut allergies, be careful. Please let me know for future boxes if there are any allergies or dietary requirements. More than happy to cater. But guys, this is absolutely fantastic. And then this is a brand new product, not available anywhere else. I've produced it exclusively for this box. This is the brand new Little Wing Passata 500 grams. Now, this varies to the tomato sugo that you may have seen in our online store, or also in the gnocchi box that was available with the basil pesto. This one, guys, I just want you to have. I want you to put it on the shelf. This is your get out of jail free card. Anytime a little recipe requires a tomato base, this is it. This is very simply cooked: onion, tomato, olive oil, salt, pepper. Now, this is a real base sauce. If you're cooking that absolute classic bolognese, this is your base. If you're cooking a simple tomato basil sauce, this is your base. If you're going to cook some mussels, steam them with some white wine and some beautiful tomato base, this is your sauce, okay? Keep that on the shelf. You'll absolutely, hopefully, find a great use for that. Now, let's get cooking. Okay, so mushroom risotto. Here's a few extras that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be using. Now, for me, Little Wing is more than just a meal box that arrives once a month. What I'm really trying to get across is a way of cooking. It's a lifestyle. It's items that you will keep in your house ready to cook. And I'm trying to educate you in the ways that I've been taught through almost 20 years of elite restaurants around the world, bringing it to the home chef. These items, I hope that you will have in your home, and if not, you will have them in the future. Keep them on hand for really great meals. All of those ingredients through the boxes, keep those on hand. You'll be able to throw something together. Now, let's run through it. 1 brown onion, equivalent of 2 sticks of celery, plenty of white wine, any variety is fine. This is for cooking. I promise not to make too much of a dent in this before I get to putting it in the pot. Extra virgin olive oil, Australian of course, butter, and parsley from the garden. Now, if you don't have parsley in the garden, guys, hit me up, okay? I'll send you some beautiful organic parsley seeds so you can grow your own garnishes. Now, let's get putting this together. Okay team, we're back. Now, what you're going to need for this is a measuring jug, a vessel that will carry up to 2 liters of liquid, your porcini mushrooms, a sharp knife, and I'm going to give you a chance to pause this video because I want you to go fill your kettle up and bring it to the boil, okay? If you need to do that, press pause now, go away and do it. If you're not, let's continue. Here we go. This is 20 grams of beautiful porcini mushrooms. The first thing you're going to want to do when you open this up is to get your nose in this bag. This is absolutely beautiful. This is the core of Italian cuisine right here. What we're going to do, empty those whole 20 grams into that bowl. I'm going to measure 1.5 liters of water from the kettle that's been boiled straight away. Then we're going to pour it straight over the porcini. This not only is going to provide us mushrooms for our stock, this 20 grams of mushrooms will be the equivalent of 175 grams of fresh mushroom, but it will also create the stock for the base. Okay, I'm going to pour my boiling water in. Make sure you've got a heat-resistant vessel for both of these tasks. Okay, there's 1 liter. I'm going to half fill that again. Okay. 1.5 liters. Now, I cannot begin to describe the smell coming off of this. Now, I'm just going to give this a little stir and agitate it to make sure all those mushrooms are getting well soaked. So what's happened here, so this is a porcini mushroom. These are only grown in certain areas of the world. They've only recently been found in Australia, a variety of porcini which grows in the Adelaide Hills. Previously, they always came from other countries, Eastern Europe, Italy, France, around that area, Western Europe, Eastern Europe. However, now growing in Australia. But what we're getting here is this beautiful, intense richness from the dried mushroom, which is getting passed into the stock. Once you get a smell of this, you will not believe it. It's absolutely fantastic. Let's get moving so we can get ready for the next step, where we're going to prepare our vegetables and we're going to weigh out our rice. Okay, here we are, next step. Mushrooms are soaking beautifully. So that's 20 grams of porcini mushrooms in 1.5 liters of stock. I'm going to leave those for 30 minutes. Next, we're gonna move on to our rice. Here's a little trip for home. So we've got 1 kilo of the beautiful restaurant quality Violoni Nano rice. What we're going to do is we're going to measure out approximately 400 grams. Now, the average mug of tea that you've got in your cupboard at home will measure between 200 and 250 grams of rice. So I'm going to put 2 mugs into this bowl, set aside for approximately 400 to 500 grams of risotto rice. There we are. Okay, next step, what we want to do is want to dice the onion nice and fine, dice the celery nice and fine. Now what this means is that the finer that we can dice it, the quicker it will cook, the less it will have a chance of colouring, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's come back and see the results. Okay, all done. Celery, onion, just a massive shout out right now for this beautiful custom knife produced for me by Uncharted Knives. You can find them on Instagram. A friend of mine during the COVID era diversified from the kitchen and started making fully custom made knives, super affordable. If you're after something special for your kitchen, check him out. Okay, we're over at the stove. I'm preheating my heavy base casserole dish. This is going to be terrific to get nice even consistency through the stock, through the rice. However, if you don't have this, just a medium height edge on a wide base pan is fantastic. Now, a little trick is to keep your stock nice and warm before we strain the mushrooms off. The next step is I'm going to add extra virgin olive oil, a really good slosh into this pot, add my vegetables, small season of salt, draw the moisture out of the vegetables to stop them from colouring. Going to sweat those down, then next goes in the rice, going to give that a little toast. Now that is the absolute key to this dish. And when that rice is starting to get beautiful and aromatic with the vegetables, then we're going to hit it with some white wine and deglaze the pan. Then we're going to start adding our stock. The key to adding the stock also is that we only add enough for 1 ladle. Once that has been fully absorbed, stirring constantly, then we'll add another ladle. Okay, here we go. Okay, extra virgin olive oil, in it goes. Again, do not overheat the pan. We just want to hear a little bit of a sizzle when the vegetables go in. Celery, onion. Now, as you can see, I've strained my stock, I've taken my mushrooms and I've diced them up. I'm reserving them, putting them off to the side to add them towards the end. Okay, straight away, I can smell the vegetables. It's awesome. I'm going to turn that heat up a little bit just to make sure that sizzle continues. Now, I'm going to use my Mount Zero Pink Lake salt to season. This is a really critical step in cooking that gets overlooked. Because I do not want any colour on these vegetables, adding salt at this saute stage will pull the moisture from the vegetable and it will start making steam in that pot, as you can see. So it's going to steam in its own juices. If we did not add salt to this pot, the vegetable would start caramelizing and it would start coloring because none of that moisture would be coming out of it. Look at that, heaps of steam, absolutely lovely. Okay, we're back. The vegetables are starting to go translucent. We can see the steam coming off it. They're cooking beautifully with no color. Risotto is about being really attentive. You need to give this a lot of care. You need to show it a lot of love, and it will show you love back when you're eating it because it's such a classic dish with so many great flavors. Now, okay, these veg is looking really great. Now, in goes the rice. This is 2 mugs full. I'm guessing between 200 grams per mug. So perhaps 400 grams to 500 grams of rice here. Now, okay, I hope you can hear that. It's starting to sizzle. I can hear that rice toasting already. I've got this up quite high because it's quite cold tonight when I'm cooking this. Now, I'm just trying to monitor that temperature to ensure that there's no color. There's no color to the rice, there's no color to the vegetables, but I can still hear a little sizzle in the pan from the veg and from the rice, and giving this little toast will add such a depth of flavor. So I've been stirring this rice on high for about 3 minutes. I can see there's just a slight amount of brown on the bottom of the pan that's starting to stick, starting to get a little bit sticky. There's a chance that it's going to start catching. What that is, that's the starches in the rice caramelizing, adding depth of flavor to our dish. However, the rice has not colored at all, but it is releasing its starch, that beautiful Violani Nano rice. Now, time to deglaze with a white wine, approximately 1 wine glass, or I should say one pour, or 1 standard drink at home. So here we go, we're going to deglaze. Any white wine is fine because we're cooking with it. So you can hear that sizzle. Beautiful. Look at that steam coming up. That means we've got it at a great temperature. Now I'm scraping the bottom of the pan. I'm picking up all those lovely caramelized flavors from the starch. I'm going to let this wine reduce down again until it just starts to caramelize, and just before it threatens to catch. Then I'm going to start adding ladle by ladle into this pot of the mushroom porcini stock. Okay, my wine has been evaporated and absorbed by the rice. I can just hear it starting to sizzle again. There's no catch, there's no color, but those beautiful caramel flavors are starting to get a little bit sticky on the bottom of the pan. So here we go. First big ladle of mushroom porcini stock. You know what? Let's make it 2. Now, I'm working that around. I'm making sure any hot spots where there may be a little amount of catch, just giving those a really great scrape. Now, if you're getting little bits of rice up the side of your pan like this, we need to give that a lots of attention, okay? I can't recommend a spatula like this enough. So what you want to do is run it around and collect all of that rice, because that's not going to cook like the rest of it. We're trying to get this all to cook as evenly as possible. Now, look how clean the rim of this pan is. That really will give you such a consistent, well-cooked rice, you won't believe it. So now, in Italy, it's tradition, keep stirring the risotto. Like I said, we're trying to release all of those starches, give this rice a chance to be beautiful and creamy without absolutely flogging it full of parmesan and butter. But we're trying to make it creamy on its own before we finish it with just enough parmesan butter. Okay, we're getting really close now. I've seen the consistency of the rice start to change. As you can see, when I drag my spatula through, the risotto is starting to support itself. It's not completely liquid, the starches are thickening, starting to get little grains of rice catching on the bottom. Every time it starts to dry out, I'm adding more stock. So I'm taking it to the point of almost catching every time that stock evaporates, and then add 1 more ladle, and ensuring anything that does catch on the bottom, I'm releasing it when I put that ladle of stock in. As well, I can see the consistency of the rice. It's gone from very bright white grains of rice to translucent outsides of the grain while the inside remains very, very strong and white still. So that's telling me that the outside is cooking while the inside still remains intact. We're going to take this to al dente, meaning to the tooth, so that you will get some bite to it. But there will be a trick right at the end, a little industry secret that I want to share with you, and it's about resting the risotto. So we're going to rest the risotto once we think it's cooked in its own juices. We're going to leave it a little wetter than what we would think. We're going to put a lid on it when it's finished, and we're going to let it hang out, and all the flavors will come together and it'll set beautifully. Now at this stage, all my stock is in. I'm going to add my porcini mushrooms. Let's give those a good stir through and have a look how that looks. I'm going to turn it down to low now. That's been on high the whole time, and look at that. Now that is starting to look the business. Okay, porcinis are in. The smell is absolutely lovely. I can see the consistency starting to come together. Now, I'm going to get my vial, my test tube of sage, give it a really good shake, lid off. I'm going to dump the whole lot in. Because this is a raw product, I want the sage incorporated at this point with the porcini mushrooms to cook through and start to infuse into the base of our risotto. Okay, I'm going to switch off, have a little look at this, and I'll be right back in time to start adding our Parmesan cheese and our butter before we rest it. Okay, so the risotto is looking terrific. The sage has started to infuse through there. The mushrooms have added such a depth. This really lovely woody characters. Now, the hot tip here is, if you are not happy with the consistency, the texture of the rice, do not be afraid to add more liquid, even if you've run out of your porcini stock. Now, for our friends that eat protein or meat, feel free to add a chicken stock. However, for our vegan friends, vegetable stock, or even, because we've made this base out of water with the mushrooms, you can even just add another cup of water in there until you're happy. This is really about you cooking using your senses, tasting it, tasting the texture, making sure that you're happy. Now, see this, I am absolutely delighted with this. I can see it's nice and creamy. The color has started to go a really light, nutty brown. I can see all of my herbs. I'm going to turn that temperature off. Now, I'm going to come over with my Parmesan cheese. I'm going to start grating Parmesan over the top of this. Now, the key to adding Parmesan here is that you add enough that you can taste it. So there's no point adding it if you can't taste it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand grate this. We just keep a chunk of grana padano in the fridge here. Comes on the rind, available at most supermarkets, but go to your local deli, ask them for this. Really affordable Parmesan from Italy. I like to use a microplane, get it hand grated in there. It dissolves very, very quickly. So that's going in. Stir that through. Now, next step. Now, oh look, that consistency is absolutely bang on. I'm going to come over with my butter now. Okay. Now, I'm using approximately 50 grams of butter here. Maybe just a touch there, but it's about 50 grams. Now, it's all about just working this in. So just a reminder that the temperature is off right now, and we're just emulsifying the fats of the butter and the Parmesan. But as you can see, the creamy texture is really derived from this super high quality rice. Okay, so I'm going to leave that now, scrape it all down. Like we said, takes a little bit of diligence to get that pan nice and clean. Now, here's the key, right? Lid's on. We're gonna walk away for 3 minutes. Okay, risotto's been resting for 3 minutes. As you can see, steam's still coming off. All of the cheese, all of the butter is in there. Look at that. Beautiful and creamy and rich. Now, what I've done, I've taken my bunch of fresh parsley from the garden. I'm adding it at the last minute. Now for me, the texture of this risotto is fantastic. It's ready to eat right now. However, by the time that I serve this up, I think it's going to thicken a little bit too much. If you want to get a little bit naughty, here's what you do. Take your white wine, if there's any left, fresh white wine to finish. Now, if you don't really want to get too naughty, just add a touch more stock and then you're there. Now remember that this stock is not from a cube, it's just from the water and the porcinis. So what I'm going to do, fresh seasoning. Okay, cracked pepper to taste. Touch more of my beautiful Mount Zero Pink Lake natural salt. Stir that through. Now look at that. I'm so hungry. This looks so great. Okay, time to plate up. Okay, there we have it. Porcini mushroom risotto with sage. Now, we're just gonna take our walnuts to finish. Beautiful crunchy and creamy walnuts over the top. And how can we forget? Drizzle of beautiful olive oil. Let's get stuck in. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Thanks again for all our Little Wing members. You're the absolute core of what we do. Appreciate your support. Hope you enjoy.